Today I have a new Jack Wolf knife release to show you. This one is called the Benny's Tanto. Check it out. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that blade. So why a Tanto? Well, Tantos have for a long time been one of my favorite blade shapes. Those of you that have been on my channel for quite a while, you know how much I love the Cold Steel Recon 1 Tanto. This is one of the best work knives that has ever been made. These things are just awesome. There's a lot of things that you can do with the Tanto that you can't do with other knife designs. It is really good for scraping. Let me get something here with the surface. It is really good for any kind of scraping. You can use it like a chisel on wood. You can use that secondary point for utility cuts. That's a really good way to do them. You don't have to use the tip of the knife, although you can go in about this angle, but that secondary point lets you have the knife on a low angle where you have a lot of control over the cut. It's also great for skinning wire, all kinds of things, all kinds of utility cuts. And then you have a tip that you can work with, that you can get in and you can carve away at things, you can cut things. It's just an amazing blade design. Once you take the time and you learn how to use a Tanto blade, you'll find that there's virtually nothing that you can't do with them. It excels at so many different tasks. This is great for a working man. I'll do carpentry work, electrical work, plumbing. I'm an IT guy. I'm constantly using knives all day long. And I need a knife that can do a variety of jobs and do them all well. This blade came, this is Jack Wolf the Benny. It came with a tip that looked a lot like the Sodbuster Jr. It's a very blunt tip. You don't have that much of a point that you can actually use for piercing and doing different things. To me, this type of blade shape just doesn't have that many uses, not in my daily life. It is good at things. There are things that you can use these for. A lot of people carry these knives and a lot of people love these knives. But for the things that I do every day, this blade shape is really no good. And this is the type of blade shape that this Jack Wolf the Benny came with. It had that real blunt tip on the end. And that just doesn't do it for me. I really like this knife a lot and I wanted to try it. I had several Chris Reeve knives. I sold a Sebenza, a large Sebenza with a clip point, and then I sold a large and cozy with an Insinco blade. Two great blades, but by selling those two knives, I was able to get this Jack Wolf, actually two Jack Wolves. I have another Jack Wolf, and I got two knives from the Tactile Knife Company, which I'll show on a future video on the 2 for Tuesday, and I got a couple of Rosecrafts. So it's at least 6 knives, probably 7, that came out of selling those two. They were MagnaCut blades, and I think I have something that's much better than having those two Chris Reeve knives. I did keep one Chris Reeve knife. I kept the Umnumzan in Tanto with a MagnaCut blade. This has also been an incredible utility knife. This does the work that I need a knife to do every day. I'm just not the biggest fan of frame locks, and technically you could say, well, this Jack Wolf is a frame lock. This one is actually called the bolster lock. It's not full titanium. It is titanium underneath, but you have covers, and these covers cover up most of the frame lock, so all you see is the very end of it right here. So this is called a bolster lock because that's the only part of the frame lock you see is on the bolster. Normally with a frame lock, if you get your fingers on the lock bar, that knife is not going to open. So if I grab it by the lock bar, that knife is not going to open, and it's a real pain. As a matter of fact, on this one I had to bend the clip. This clip was over the lock bar, so if you even touched the clip, the knife wouldn't open. I heated it up and I bent it over so the clip hits partially on the scales, and that keeps the clip from getting depressed and pressing on the lock bar. So this knife is not that bad to open now. That clip mod made a big difference, and as you can see, it's not as drop shutty. It's a good solid knife, but frame locks just aren't my choice in the knife. This is much better. no problem spidey flicking this one. It's nice and drop shutty, and the front flipper deployment is pretty good too. So this knife is excellent. I love the blade shape. I've been carrying this now for 3 or 4 days with the Tanto, and I've used it extensively, and I love it. When I first got this knife, I carried it for a week to see how I would make out with that round nose, because I know that's not the best thing for me. And I found I don't use the knife. I always have a multi-tool, and I always have a traditional knife on me, and I went for one of those knives on every cut I had to make. Now that I've made this into a Tanto, this is the knife I go for every cut that I have to make. This is just a wonderful knife. This is a big improvement, and I wish they would come like this from the factory. So stick around for the second half of the video, and you'll see the modification process that I did to this knife. Okay, I think that'll give you a good look at what's going on. And I can see the angle here, close to a 45-degree angle. I'm going to want to hold this knife just like this and bring it into the belt. I'm going to dip in water. We want to keep that blade cool. Alright, that's what we have so far. Okay, so on this knife, it's held on about that angle. So we're going to come on about the right angle. Another dip in the water. Alright, let's take a look at what we have so far. You can see that? It's looking pretty similar. Not sharp yet. Let me go a little bit more. So here you can see what we have. Here's a comparison between the two blades. The rest of the work on this, I'll do by hand. I don't want to do any more than that on the machine. But for me, that's already a huge improvement. I'll be able to do any kind of utility cuts. That's going to be awesome. I'll be able to get in here and use this tip. Just like on the Chris Reeve knife. That worked really nice. Yeah, it's so much more useful. Now it's just sharpened with the belt on the belt grinder. It's a 120 grit belt, so I need to go over this with diamond stones. I'll probably do with a guided sharpener, even though my typical sharpening is always done freehand. This, because I want it to be perfect, and I want to establish the bevel to start with, a proper bevel on this, I'll probably just do this on the guided sharpener, and that'll bring it up to perfection. So now this is a beautiful knife, greatly improved as far as function goes for me, and I'm really going to enjoy carrying this one now.